Welcome back, and well, all roads lead back to Bitcoin. Cardano founder Charles Hoskinson says that Bitcoin will hit $250,000 this year, and that the Magnificent Seven, the top seven in tech, will adopt stable coins. We're going to be discussing this along with, is MicroStrategy selling their Bitcoin? Well, even though Michael Saylor may be saying no, and you as an irresponsibly long MSTR holder may be saying no, well, the documents and what the MicroStrategy says to the SEC says something completely different. And we're also going to be talking about some other stories in the news that kind of bring us back to Bitcoin. Everything leads back to Bitcoin. This doesn't mean you can't make money on other assets and that these other assets are not going to do well. But from an integration and an adoption standpoint, it's really Bitcoin and a little bit of Ethereum. Everything else is just a conversation at this point and just really speculation. And while speculation can push the prices of many of these altcoins higher, it's really about the implementation of the technology. And this is why I thought it was very interesting to see this from Charles saying that the Magnificent Seven will adopt stable coins when Cardano has not even adopted stable coins like Tether or USDC up to this point, even though there's clearly a lot of need for it and a lot of community support for that. So we're going to be getting to that in just a few minutes, but let's start with MicroStrategy and make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel and also give the video a free thumbs up. Remember, I upload every single day on this channel to bring you the latest happening in the financial world. Giving the video a thumbs up is absolutely free. If you want to help support, click the join button down below to learn more about becoming a channel member. But other than that, let's get right into the news and the topics for all roads lead back to Bitcoin. So as we explained, MicroStrategy is a very interesting test subject for this whole taking out debt to buy Bitcoin situation. MicroStrategy lost almost $6 billion on Bitcoin in the first quarter and has not bought any since. And now there's conversation and there's a lot of rumors about whether they're selling. Blockchain News Daily posted this from an SEC filing that says just in, MicroStrategy filing says they may be forced to sell Bitcoin below their cost basis to service their debt in the event of a continued market downturn. Well, no duh. We've talked about this on the channel, that the reason, in my view, no other companies are doing what MicroStrategy is doing. I mean, some of them are buying a little bit of Bitcoin, but there's very few that are taking out debt to buy Bitcoin. And the ones that are taking out debt to buy Bitcoin, they're other Bitcoin adjacent companies like Marathon Digital, which, by the way, Marathon Digital is a Bitcoin mining company. They literally produce Bitcoin that's their business model. They are taking out debt to buy more Bitcoin. This doesn't make sense. I understand the investing thesis and having the Bitcoin treasury thesis for this, but it makes no freaking sense to me. MicroStrategy doing it is one thing, right? But hear me out. When Marathon Digital, they literally are mining Bitcoin, and for the last however many years before they started this Bitcoin treasury strategy, they've been selling their Bitcoin that they're mining. They're selling it to then go pay for their operating expenses, which I guess is good, right? You have to run a business. But I also understand that they're selling the Bitcoin that they produce, and then they're taking out debt to buy more Bitcoin. They're kind of separate pockets. But at the end of the day, why sell any of the Bitcoin to begin with, right? Why are they selling their Bitcoin? Why are they buying Bitcoin at the top of the market, in a bull market, in a bull run, when there is a high potential that the price in a bear market is going to go below their purchase price? So MicroStrategy's purchase price, when I'm recording this video, is about $67,000. This is very easy to look up. Just go to strategy.com, and this is their Bitcoin strategy, and just click on purchases. And right up here at the top, you see their dollar cost average, 67,000. There is a very high likelihood that we're going to go below 67,000 at some point in the bear market over the next few years. Maybe not, but I want you guys to continue to think about this. What if MicroStrategy, the rest of this year, the rest of 2025 and 2026, they keep buying and buying and buying and buying at the top? right? Because we know they're going to continue to buy at the top. What happens if their dollar cost average goes higher and higher and higher, and maybe we get to $75,000, and then the bear market comes and we go below 75,000? There's a lot of people who are 100%. By the way, there was somebody was commenting somewhere the other day, and they said, "Cryptoviser, you're wrong. Michael Saylor he owns the stock." It's like, no, this is fact. You can go to the NASDAQ website and type in MicroStrategy or strategy and go and look at how many shares Michael Saylor owns. He owns 0. He sold all his MicroStrategy shares back in 23 to 2024, I think it was. And he was open about it. And now he's literally open, and he's telling us, he's in video interviews that we've covered in this channel, where he's literally saying, well, right now the MicroStrategy stock is not at a premium, so we're not selling any of the stock on the open market. But when the stock goes into premium against the Bitcoin holdings and against what the company's really worth, we're going to start selling on the open markets and then go buy Bitcoin. So if you're a shareholder, he's literally telling you, number one, he owns no shares of the stock, and number two, that he's going to continue to sell more shares on the stock as soon as the price goes higher. So as a shareholder, why would I want to hold that stock if he's going to continue to sell shares on the open market? Again, people say, well, Cryptoviser, why doesn't he own any shares of this MicroStrategy if that's his company? Well, because he owns Bitcoin. He's a Bitcoin maximalist, not a MicroStrategy maximalist. And so people who are irresponsibly long MSTR, they cannot see this. It's very sad, to be honest, because this is not an investing thesis or strategy to not look at the data and say, wait, why is the price not going up? And he has more Bitcoin than ever. Well, he's buying the top of the market. He's taking out debt at the top of the market. So then we'll buy at the top of the market. And effectively, they have unlimited shares that they can sell on the open market, because in January, they approved a stock increase from 300 million shares to 10 billion shares, a 30x. And they barely started selling already. So once the price goes into premium, they're going to sell. Now, I hold MicroStrategy when I'm recording this video, but this mechanism makes me very, very worried about this holding. And probably when it goes into a premium, I'm going to sell, because I know MicroStrategy is going to sell. So the price can't go higher. But there's a lot of MicroStrategy bulls that are in complete denial that MicroStrategy will ever sell. They're like, no, Michael Saylor said he'll never sell. It's like, okay, but if he has to, he will. Like, he's in debt. All of the Bitcoin they own is from debt. From debt. It says right here, as Bitcoin constitutes the vast bulk of assets on our balance sheet, if we are unable to secure equity, meaning money, or debt financing, more debt, in a timely manner, on favorable terms, or at all, we may be required to sell Bitcoin to satisfy our financial obligations, and we may be required to make such sales at prices below our cost basis or that are otherwise unfavorable. I mean, the document literally is telling you this. This is the third paragraph down here. It literally says that they'll sell, and they'll even sell lower than their dollar cost average. They'll sell at a loss if they have to pay back their debt, and they can't get more debt to pay it off. I mean, I'm thinking of, like, it's almost kind of like a Ponzi, right? This is why people say it is, because they're taking out debt to buy assets that can potentially go lower than their dollar cost average and then they still have to pay the debt back. And by the way, there are definitely, like, institutions that are going to be betting against Bitcoin with the sole purpose of cratering MicroStrategy for whatever reasons. Either just they're going to short everything and they want everything to crash, but there are definitely, or there's companies or entities that don't want the MicroStrategy thesis to play out and then be successful, because then other companies are going to do it. Maybe the banks don't want them to do that, right? So that's something to keep in mind. And they said any such sale of Bitcoin may have a material adverse effect on our operating results and financial conditions and could impair our ability to secure additional equity or debt refinancing in the future. Our inability to secure additional equity or debt refinancing in a timely manner or on favorable terms or at all, or to sell our Bitcoin in amounts and at prices sufficient to satisfy our financial obligations, including our preferred stock, may have a material adverse effect on our financial condition. And again, there's a lot of people who own MicroStrategy stock and they don't understand how all of this works. They're selling these perpetual strife contracts for preferred stock, and they're giving 10% dividends per year. Where is the dividends coming from? Nobody has been able to answer this question yet. Where are the dividends coming from? And listen, in the future, yes, MicroStrategy may loan out some of their Bitcoin, and if they do that this cycle, that is the signal. That is the signal that is going to take down this market. Because this is what Celsius, Voyager, Three Arrows Capital, FTX, this is what they were doing. They were borrowing and lending to each other. And once you start over leveraging, things can collapse. And if you're borrowing Bitcoin to then go trade like that, and then you lose and you can't pay it back, not only do you go under, but who you're borrowing it from goes under, right? And so other than loaning the Bitcoin out, how is MicroStrategy going to make 10% dividends on these preferred perpetuals, like contracts? How are they going to make this 10%? Because I think their initial offering was $500 million for the most recent round of preferred whatever. And so I think they oversubscribed. So I think it was like $700 million they got from it. So that means 10% of that is $70 million a year. Where are they getting that $70 million to pay out the dividend? No, people are not able to answer this. But again, this all leads back to Bitcoin, right? It doesn't matter whether you're a MicroStrategy bull or bear, right? If you want to hold MicroStrategy, why not just hold Bitcoin? That's what Michael Saylor's doing. And effectively, he's using MicroStrategy, maybe not directly, right? But this is effectively what's happening, is he's using MicroStrategy as a vehicle, right? MicroStrategy can blow up. Yes, it may cause temporary heartache for the Bitcoin market, but it's not going to blow up Bitcoin, right? So he's using MicroStrategy, using debt, using the system against itself to then go buy Bitcoin and more Bitcoin and more Bitcoin and more Bitcoin, so much to the fact that he doesn't even own his own stock, that everybody's all bullish about. Everybody loves Michael Saylor, but he doesn't even own the stock. But why doesn't he own the stock? Because he's a Bitcoin maximalist, right? Back to Bitcoin. So if you're a Bitcoin maximalist or even a MicroStrategy maximalist, you should just be buying Bitcoin, because MicroStrategy is the vehicle that's going to push the price of Bitcoin up through these constant purchases, right? People are expecting the US government to do this. They're not. MicroStrategy is doing it. They're doing it already. So yes, this can push the price of Bitcoin much higher, but if MicroStrategy collapses under all this debt, or they're selling, or the fear of selling, they don't even have to sell any, guys. Just the fear of them selling because the price goes below their dollar cost average will cause ripple effects in the market and ripple effects for their stock. All roads lead back to Bitcoin. Anyway, moving right along, India's leading Bitcoin and crypto exchange, Unocoin, has now integrated Lightning. Now, for Americans, sometimes it's a little bit difficult to think outside of the US box, but America only has about 350 million people. India has well over 1 billion people. And so what's happening in India is very important to understand what's happening in the global financial ecosystem. Historically, India has been back and forth from a regulatory perspective on cryptos, but more recently, they seem to be more open to it. And with 1 billion people, I mean, in certain parts of India, you can order something on your phone, and it will literally be in front of you in 10 minutes. They tried to do this in the United States, and I've always wondered like how they're going to do this. Like I can understand under an hour, especially in major cities, you can do it. Maybe not LA because there's always traffic, but maybe, who knows? But anyway, They have never been able to do this in the United States. This 10 minutes. I saw a video on YouTube where the guy was like hearing about that you can order something in 10 minutes. It's literally delivered in front of you by a person. And they tried it, and sure enough, 10 minutes later the item just appeared. It was quite incredible. So there are very tech integrated already in India. And so this kind of integration of the Lightning Network for me from an investment perspective tells me again everything's leading back to Bitcoin. Yes, they may be trying these other coins, trying other blockchains for different projects, but from a global financing and global transacting perspective, this is where it is at. It's where it's at. And we're seeing hyper acceleration now in the adoption of crypto, especially after the president has said America is going to be the Bitcoin capital of the world. Whoever's not bullish on that, I mean, even just in the 4 years of the presidency, I mean, hello, guys. Now, around the world, we're seeing everything leading back to Bitcoin as well. Pakistan has now appointed Changpeng Zhao, also known as CZ, former CEO and founder of Binance, as the advisor for crypto as adoption heats up. So CZ has been appointed as the advisor to Pakistan's Crypto Council, a newly formed regulatory body tasked with overseeing the country's embrace of blockchain technology and digital assets. This appointment was confirmed by the Pakistan Ministry of Finance and reported to Bloomberg. Zhao will advise the regulatory body on crypto regulation, infrastructure, and adoption, according to Bloomberg. This is them signing the documents. Now, again, this just goes back to Bitcoin and crypto. CZ is a Bitcoin and crypto maximalist, right? He believes in crypto. The story of CZ and what he built with Binance, right? Regardless of all the other nonsense that they, said, oh, well, you were not following AML and KYC, whatever. What he built is truly fascinating, right? A global exchange with connections into pretty much all the financial systems in the world. I mean, it is really fascinating to see how this was created, right? Same thing with Coinbase in the United States, right? Against all odds, Coinbase and Brian Armstrong he's still there. He's still pushing, right? And that's not an easy thing to do, right? Changpeng Zhao, he could have retired and just went and lived in, on a mountainside and wherever, but he still believes in crypto. This is how I know that the ecosystem of blockchain and crypto are going to continue to expand, is because you continue to see people who were, I don't know, like, there is so much building in this space. It is truly fascinating, right? We haven't seen anything like this since, I don't remember really anything, maybe just the building of maybe like smartphones, right? The evolution of smartphones and how rapidly, just think about that, right? Just even 15, 20 years ago, people did not have cell phones, right? Now, cell phone goes everywhere with everybody. And this does most of their transacting, right? Some people don't even have computers anymore. They just use their phone for everything. So there's a lot of building going on here. And, I would imagine somebody like Brian Armstrong, somebody like CZ, like they must be tired. They must be exhausted, right? Years and years building against this system that's like trying to stop you from building this new technology, right? You're up against the banks. The banks don't want crypto to succeed because then the banks go into oblivion, right? The banks are no longer needed, which is kind of their own fault, right? They don't give any interest. They debank people. They charge ridiculous fees. They have minimums for accounts. Like, they do nothing to help people actually, build their wealth. They're just money suckers, right? They want to suck the money out of the market. And that's not what banks were back in the day, like 50 years ago. People wanted to go to the bank, and the banker was there to help you try to make money, right? It's no longer like that. So anyway, yeah, I can only imagine how exhausted CZ is, but he keeps pushing on, and he keeps pushing for what he believes is the future of technology and the future of finance for the world, a more fair and democratic type of ecosystem that is decentralized, so that a bank can't just take away your money because they don't like that, or they don't want you, buying crypto on. I mean, this just a few years ago, J.P. Morgan, Bank of America, all these banks were literally shutting people's crypto accounts down. Sorry, their savings accounts or checking accounts down because they were moving money either to or from a Coinbase, right? The most highly regulated crypto exchange in the world. But again, everything goes back to Bitcoin. They're all looking at Bitcoin. All the countries around the world are looking at it. Even here in the United States, the US House hearing marks progress towards crypto market structure bill. The Digital Assets Subcommittee of the House of Financial Service Committee held a hearing to consider ideas for crypto market structure regulation, the second and more complicated of two major crypto initiatives pushed by the president and his allies. Democrats, according to this article, sought to highlight the president's crypto business interests, basically saying that he had, Trump coin, he has Melania coin, they have the World Liberty Finance. But here's the deal, guys. Like, I understand they don't want, insider trading or interest and stuff like that. But look at Congress. Nancy Pelosi, they literally have portfolio trackers so that people can go and follow the exact trades that Nancy Pelosi or other, Congress people make. And so just saying, well, we shouldn't get into digital assets because the president owns some. It's like, yeah, because this is the future of finance, right? I don't understand it. Like, if you don't know what something is, learn about it, right? And if you learn about it and you say, wait, this makes more sense than the traditional financial system that we have. But instead, they're not trying to learn about it. They're just trying to make it political, right? And last year, a lot of people said, one side is going to lose votes because they're not pro crypto. And there were people like Anthony Scaramucci, right, who were basically telling that side, like, you guys need to loosen up on the crypto stuff because you're going to lose all these people, right? 40 million Americans own crypto. I think the number is all the way up to 70 million Americans. So by isolating this huge group, and anybody who's in the tech world knows about crypto, probably owns some crypto, or at least believes that you should have the right to transact how you want to transact. So we're holding back the whole country because the president owns interests in crypto businesses? Yeah, he's playing the freaking finance game. Um, I don't get it, Um, Crypto can do a lot for a lot of people. Forget about making money on it, right? Just transacting. I mean, you go to the poor immigrant neighborhoods in the U.S. and what do you see? No banks, because none of them can get bank accounts because they don't have the money to get into the bank. So what do? They have to go pay 10% to a check cashing place to cash their check. And then they pay another 10% to send the money to their family back home, maybe some of their money. Maybe their mother can no longer work and they don't have pensions or 401ks or Social Security in other countries. So yeah, the people are sending some of their money back home. And then the person that they're sending it to, they get charged 10%, and it's all these fees. Crypto can fix that. I mean, Coinbase a few years ago, they partnered with, I think it's called Oxxo in Mexico. It's like a 7-Eleven type deal. And you could literally send money to somebody via this, I think it's Oxxo, and there's no fees. This is game changing for a lot of people. It's game changing for the world of finance. And meanwhile, people are still fighting it. But that brings us to the bullish kind of predictions about where we are going. Bitcoin to hit $250,000 this year, according to Charles Hoskinson. So he says that Bitcoin could hit $250,000 as early as this year, with technology giants such as Microsoft and Apple entering the crypto space. He said, Hoskinson said he believes Bitcoin will reach $250,000 by the end of this year or next year. He said what will happen is that the tariff stuff will be a dud and people will realize the world is willing to negotiate and it's just really US versus China. And a lot of people will side with the US. Some people side with China. The markets will stabilize a little bit and they'll get used to the new norm, and then the Federal Reserve will lower interest rates, and then you'll have a lot of fast, cheap money that'll pour into crypto. Interesting. He also made his comments before the temporary pause on the full blown reciprocal tariffs. But he highlighted a number of reasons that could drive the Bitcoin price. He talked about more users. He talked about the geopolitical situation moving from rules based to order to a great powers conflict. I don't know what that means. But anyway, he also said that there will be new stablecoin legislation that will likely get passed and help the crypto markets. The law aims to address the regulatory treatment of various digital assets. Both bills are currently working their way through the legislative process. But meanwhile, and by the way, he also said the stablecoin bill could lead to the Magnificent Seven companies begin adopting crypto assets too, according to him. Yes, I would agree with that. But why doesn't Cardano have stablecoins on it? Why doesn't it have USDC or Tether already integrated natively on the chain? If he really believes this, they should have it already integrated because that's going to bring massive amounts of inflows to the Cardano blockchain, which I think can help drive usage, investment, partnerships, all that kind of stuff. Why are they not doing it? I cannot figure it out. I don't understand. I don't understand. Like, there's more positives than negatives, I believe, integrating USDC. And Charles is telling you he believes that stable coins are going to be a factor with the prices going up. But if you're not integrated with the stable coins, then what good is it, right? So yeah, a lot to think about. A lot is happening in these markets. I mean, overall, very bullish on all these assets. I think that once the market starts going up, everything's going up. So it doesn't matter whether I like your coin or don't like your coin, or you don't like my coin or you like my coin. It doesn't matter. Everything's going to go up, I think. Now, by how much, that's a whole different story. Hopefully by a lot. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to give the video a free thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. That way you never miss a new video. And I'll see you when I see you crypto on.